So again, amazing choice with them. But before we cancel a policy that you already have in place, let's verify that before we make any rash decisions. Do a policy review.
Yeah. Um,
If it turns out that they do have day one coverage, because if they don't have day one coverage, I guarantee they'll stick with your plan, right? So if you do that policy review and it's not day one coverage, they're going to stick with you, right?
okay,
If it
so
turns out
the key is to do a policy review.
correct.
Okay, that's a
Hmm.
good idea.
Do that report back again.
Yeah. But then let's say you call them and they go, yeah, they got the day one plan with us. And always make sure that you ask it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
If my client passed of a natural cause, a heart attack tomorrow, what are you going to pay my client? What are you going to pay the client? What's the death benefit? Don't ask them if it's in force. Don't ask them, is the policy fully covered? Because they'll tell you yes, right?
Yeah.
What is it that
Um,
they do again?
they market their 2-year wait as a day one coverage.
They say that the day that you make your first payment, your policy starts.
Yeah, they say the day you make
Yeah,
your
I
first
guess that
payment, your
that can be
policy is in
legal.
force.
Yeah,
It's legal and
it's
it's
legal.
true, but the problem is it's not given the entire information. It's like,
So it's actually an ROP?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is.
Majority of Mutual of Omaha's clients are ROP. I forget. It's one of these two ways. I don't remember the exact way, but if Mutual of Omaha calls the client, or if the client calls Mutual of Omaha, they're automatically in the ROP plan. It's
Why is that?
it's just the way that they do business. I don't remember which way it is. I don't remember if it's when they call them or when Mutual of Omaha calls a client, or if it's when the client calls Mutual of Omaha. But one of those ways, it does not matter what your health is. You're always in an ROP.
Hmm.
Always.
So how do
Yeah.
you get day one with mutual?
You have to do it the other way. So
An agent.
so let's say it's always ROP if the client calls in, then an agent would have to call you to get you something other than an ROP.
Okay, so somebody just going around shopping for rates is going to get the ROP with Mutual of Omaha.
Correct. Again, I don't remember which way it is, so it's one of those two ways.
Okay,
I'll get more clarification on that, but it's an ROP plan 90% of the time.
I have the underwriting
interesting,
guide here
very
too.
interesting, very
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
I just put the underwriting guide in there.
Yeah, Mutual of Omaha is very strict on their underwriting. But yeah, always try to get into a policy review. But again, you can't come about it and say you don't have what you think you have. You have to be very informative. Hey, amazing choice. Mutual of Omaha is a phenomenal company. I commend you with going with them. Regardless if it's with them or with me, I'm just happy that your family's covered for the day that you pass. Now, Mutual Omaha, 90% of their clients end up in their graded death benefit, but they market it as day one. I'll explain what that means. They'll tell you that the day you make your first payment, your policy starts, which is technically true. The only thing is the death benefit is not the full amount. Now, Ms. Jones, you could be the 10% that got the immediate coverage. If that's the case, that's perfect. But before we cancel a policy that's already in force and make a rash decision, let's verify that first so you have the best option for you and your family. Let's do a policy review.
They are pretty cheap.
Mutual Omaha is extremely cheap.
Yep.
But if it was just about price, then they'd go with Aflac.
Yep.
Mhm.
I've never actually don't. I'm not familiar with Aflac.
Cheapest policies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And great coverage. Very lenient underwriting, great coverage. Aflac's that's the one company that somebody says Aflac, you're not going to change them. No way.
Why don't we
You might
have
as
them?
well. You might as well fly away.
Why don't we have Aflac?
Great questions. I think that's a question for Rory and not myself.
The fireside chat.
Maybe they don't want to offer enough commission. You know, you never know. Maybe
That's
Yeah.
only
probably why it's cheap.
maybe Aflac, you have to be in Aflac for their car and everything else to be able to sell it. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not that high up yet, guys. I don't have C next to my name.
Well,
Yeah.
you're very high up according to all your people here.
Well, thank you, guys. All right, so let me see if I can find this. Everybody here should have a text with my phone number. Please save it. I will not answer texts on my other phone. I'm deleting everybody's number just so everybody knows.
Okay, what number is that, Josh?
It's texted to you.
I know when I saved both of them showed up when I updated it.
It's the 804-5454. 804-5454.
Okay, I'll
So
erase
just
the other
delete
one.
the other one. It's not
Yeah.
working anymore.
I can erase the other one,
Correct.
right?
Yep. Yep. It will not be available. I will not answer. All right. Found it. That was pretty easy. Because I heard some people selling Everest and the client was like, I don't see value in that. I don't know what the hell you're even talking about over here. What is this stuff that you're telling me? So I'm going to give you guys the proper way to sell Everest. Y'all ready? EV. So Everest is EVEREST. Everest. Yes, ma'am. Let me ask you, have you ever had to plan a funeral or a wedding before, Miss Davis?
Yes, sir, I did. I planned my daughter's wedding, funeral. So,
You had to do all that?
yeah.
Man. So you know firsthand how much work goes into it, right? There's a lot of moving parts. You got to get the
Yeah,
death
I know.
certificate from the city. You got to find the right funeral home, pick out the casket, the flowers, the plot, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Well, a lot of times when a family member passes away, especially a very close loved one, you're not really thinking straight. Can you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
So what Everest does, Miss Davis, is they are going to help your son plan your funeral from start to finish. They are going to help him with the death certificate. They are going to help him get the will in order and all in one spot. They're going to help him pick out the funeral home, the casket, the tombstone, the burial plot. They're going to help him plan everything from A to Z to make that as easy as possible on him, okay?
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, they are also going to make sure that he gets the very best price available. They will call around to 8 different funeral homes to make sure that your son doesn't get ripped off and he gets the absolute best price available, which means more money left over in his pocket when it's all said and done. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, based on the benefits that you qualify for, Ms. Davis, you guys want me to play that again, or you guys feel like you got the grasp of it?
Yep.
I can hear it again.
You guys want to hear it again?
Please.
Let's do can you do a closing for I want to think about it.
Yeah, let me
I'd
play
rather
this
have
one more
that.
time and then I'll handle that. We got some time.
There's
So
only 2 minutes.
Everest is EVEREST. Everest.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Let me ask you, have you ever had to plan a funeral or a wedding before, Miss Davis?
Yes, sir, I did. I planned my daughter's wedding, funeral. So,
You had to do all that?
yeah.
Man. So you know firsthand how much work goes into it, right? There's a lot of moving parts. You got to get the
Yeah,
death
I know.
certificate from the city. You got to find the right funeral home, pick out the casket, the flowers, the plot, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Well, a lot of times when a family member passes away, especially a very close loved one, you're not really thinking straight. Can you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
So what Everest does, Miss Davis, is they are going to help your son plan your funeral from start to finish. They are going to help him with the death certificate. They are going to help him get the will in order and all in one spot. They're going to help him pick out the funeral home, the casket, the tombstone, the burial plot. They're going to help him plan everything from A to Z to make that as easy as possible on him, okay? On top of that, they are also going to make sure that he gets the very best price available. They will call around to 8 different funeral homes to make sure that your son doesn't get ripped off and he gets the absolute best price available, which means more money left over in his pocket when it's all said and done. Okay? All right. That's how I build the value of Everest. It's very short, sweet, to the point. I don't go into all the tenzing. I don't go into all the extra bells and whistles. I just tell them the facts and the benefits of having Everest on their side, right? And I always like to compare it to a wedding or if they've ever had to plan a funeral before, right? And I always like to say, there's a lot of moving parts. I want them to visualize everything that goes into it. And that's why I ramble it off, like getting the casket, picking out the plot, buying the tombstone, the transportation of the body, getting the death certificate. Have you ever had to try to get a death certificate before, Miss Jones? It's not easy. The city wants to drag their feet, and that's usually what takes the longest for insurance companies to pay out, is waiting on the death certificate. Getting your will in order, right? All of these different things that when you're dealing with a loss, you're not thinking straight on all these different things to do. That's where Everest comes into play. They're going to help your family get it all organized. That way they can help your family get you buried resting in peace as soon as possible, right? I'm just trying to explain what it does and build that value on it. I've had a lot of success with that versus going into, well, you get a Tenzing account that your family can log into. You get 3 different logins. It holds up to 1 terabyte of information. They're like, I don't care about none of that, yo. Right? It's just too much. You're overloading them with stuff that they don't give a crap about. Right? Although it's great features, but you're not going to spend an hour explaining Everest, right? Everest is a great add-on as well. Remember what I told you guys. Back when I used to sell home phone, internet, and TV, I was one of the top salesmen, not because I was the best at selling those 3 products. I was the best because I sold the identity protection for $15 a month. Somebody tell me that they're covered, they have all the channels they want, it'd be like, perfect. That means I can focus on just protecting your identity. We have a great service that protects your identity, and it'll cover your TVs if they ever break. It's $15 a month. How does that sound? Yeah, add that to me. She's okay. No, I'm not going to spank her. Okay. Now, you wanted to cover think about it objection, right?
Yep.
Everybody pretty cool with covering think about it objection? You guys get that pretty often? Let me show you
Yes,
all the magic tricks.
yes.
Yeah,
We
it's
do. We get it
it's
very
pretty much the
often.
same as I talk to my whoever, right?
Yeah.
To think about, it's like the same thing.
Hit me with it.
Hit it, Rico.
No, go ahead.
You asked for it.
Yeah, let me hear it, Rico. Come on. Tell me you got to think about it.
Yeah. Okay. Now I just want to make sure I can't do anything today. Okay. I really want to think about it. I don't do things right away. I really have to think about it.
Absolutely. And I hear exactly what you're saying, Mr. Rico. But let me ask you a question. Does the idea of a program like this make sense to you? Do you like the idea of a program like this for your daughter, Jennifer?
Yep. Yeah. I just want to think about it. I just don't do things right away. I just have to sit down, think about it, talk about it with my family, things like that.
Absolutely. And I definitely think you should. And the true beauty of a program like this, Mr. Rico, is unlike most of the plans out there, this program will advance your family the entire death benefit amount before you pass if you're ever terminally ill. And just so you know, 70% of Americans do pass of a terminal illness. So there's a 70% chance that you and your family will actually get that money before you pass to take care of everything during that time of need. And as you know, the cost of living during that time is going to skyrocket because you're going to need medical expenses. You're probably going to need additional care. And if you're like most families in America, I'm sure you can agree with me. You probably don't have tens of thousands of dollars to take care of something like that. Am I right?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I still want to
Absolutely.
think about it. You know,
For sure, for
again,
sure. And I respect that 100%. Just as far as the actual cost of the program goes, Mr. Rico, really it's an investment into the future of Jennifer, right? Which is the main reason me and you are on the phone today. Am I right?
yeah.
For sure. Now, let me ask you this. If Jennifer came to you and she said, Dad, without this, I would struggle. I would not be able to come up with the money and it would put me in a huge bind. If Jennifer came to you and said that and she asked you, Dad, would you please get a life insurance policy for me so I can make sure that you're buried properly? You probably would not tell her you need to think about it. You would tell her, absolutely, I'll do it right now for you. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, of course. But I'm not gonna die
Exactly.
tomorrow, so I want to think about it.
Yes, sir. But if she came to you and she asked you to do it, you wouldn't tell her you're going to think about it. You would have it done right away. Am I right?
Uh, yeah, that sounds right. But in terms of what
Excellent.
we're doing today, I don't want to do anything today. I just have to think about it.
Absolutely. Now that I can understand, Mr. Rico, you don't know me, right? I don't have a luxury of a track record with you. Let me just reintroduce myself. My name is Joshua Cribb. I am one of the top producing agents here at Senior Life Services, and I pride myself on the ability to go the extra mile for my clients, help you and your family through the claims process, and be available for you and your daughter 24/7. I'm not just here to guide you into a program that best fits your situation, but also to hold your hand and your daughter's hand every step of the way to make sure you guys get the absolute most out of this policy. And as far as Senior Life Services goes, at the heart of all of our success, Mr. Rico, is really one simple thing. We get your claims paid to your family when they need it the most. That's all we do. We specialize in these types of plans and we design a product that specifically matches your needs and make sure those needs are met. So why don't we do this? Right now, you mentioned that you don't have any coverage in place, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we apply for the $10,000 death benefit? That's enough to make sure that if you didn't wake up tomorrow, your daughter at least has the funds to make sure her dad is buried properly and she's not trying to scrounge up the money. That's only $84 a month and that'll cover the basics of everything for you. As soon as that first payment's made, you can finally check this off your list and you no longer have to worry about it. Does that sound fair enough?
Yeah, that sounds fair. I really just have to think about it. I mean, I just don't make decisions right away, Josh. And I appreciate what you're doing, and I understand what you're trying to get through. But let me just think about it. I'll get back to you.
I understand. And the reality is, Mr. Rico, to be honest with you, it would be impossible for you to consider any decision you make at this point a rash decision, right? You were contacted a little while ago by our representatives to whom you said you wanted more information about life insurance. And I'm sure that you thought about it that day, maybe once or twice since then. Even if you don't remember, I'm sure this has crossed your mind as you've gotten older, right? And we've spent almost an hour on the phone today reviewing your health history, what program you best qualify for, what program best fits your needs. Look, honestly, you cannot think of this as a rash decision by saying yes now. This is everything that you need and then some. Let's go ahead and get this program started for you and make sure that Miss Jennifer's taken care of the day that you pass.
Okay. Um, Let me talk to my kids real quick.
Absolutely. And I totally understand. And I can
This
tell
is
you
from
this. I
last
know
night.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what they're going to say, Mr. Rico. Your daughter is going to say, Dad, don't worry about it. I don't want to think about you dying. This is such an emotional subject that no child wants to discuss with their parents, right? Who wants to honestly have a conversation about their parents passing? Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
And as a dad, Mr. Rico, it's our job to protect them, not rely on them to make a decision like this for themselves. No child should have to make this decision for themselves. This is something as a parent that we do for them. Let's get them protected today and make sure that when that day comes, they're not in a financial obligation, okay? What's
Okay.
your middle
My
initial?
Yeah, my daughter, we kind of talked about it before. She said that, she's got the money. So that's what I was thinking. I wanted to talk to her about this.
For sure. So you knew that your daughter had the money before me and you got on the phone today together, right?
Yeah, you're right.
But you still are looking into this. That tells me one thing. Even though your daughter has the money, you don't care about that. You want to make sure that you have the money to take care of it so she's not spending her own money on it. Because again, you knew that she had the money before we started this conversation, yet you still had a conversation with me to make sure it was taken care of. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
So even if your daughter has the money, that's not something as a parent that you want them to have to pay for. It's our job to take care of them, not them take care of us. So
You're
let's
right.
get this done. Like I said, you've pushed this off long enough, Mr. Rico, and that's just me being honest with you. You're 74 years old. You have no life insurance. I'm sure I'm not the first person that you spoke with. At this time, it's time to just get this done, check this off your list, and when you lay your head down tonight, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable knowing if you don't wake up tomorrow, your daughter's taken care of. What's
Okay.
the name of the bank that you want to use to make your payments with?
Um, Honestly, Josh, I don't have the money today, but I'll get it on like the third.
How much could you pay today if you had to? If somebody was twisting your arm behind your back?
Um, I might have $100, but I have something to spend. I have to buy something later.
Let me ask you this. The thing that you have to buy later, is that a one-off instance that's only going to happen this month? Or is that
No, it's
something
for our
that might
dinner
come up
tonight.
next month? Okay. So I respect that. And I definitely want you to have a nice dinner, Mr. Rico. Putting myself in your spot, I never go out to dinner when it's my last $100, especially when it's the 28th and I still have 5 days
No, no,
left
I'm just
before
going
the
to the
3rd.
grocery store to buy for dinner.
Got you. Okay. So
We're out of food.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay. So are you typically in this spot at the end of the month where your last $100 is gone?
Uh, no, I kind of bought some clothes for our
You bought
granddaughter.
some clothes. Okay. Okay. Um, let's do this. Let's set it up to where it comes out within about 48 hours. That'll give you enough time where you can go out to dinner tonight, right? And that way you're protected the day that they accept you, which is going to take about 2 days anyways.
Okay.
With today being Friday, you're looking at Saturday, Sunday, Monday, probably come out on Monday to Tuesday by the latest, which is going to be right around the 1st. So the money should have hit by then for your next check. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. All right. And
I
then I'm
like you,
still going to try
Josh.
to close that e-check, right? The
Uh,
reason I'm still going to try that e-check, guys, is because if it's the 28th and they don't have the funds to make their payment, if you take that $84 out at the very first of the month when they first get their check, where do you think they're going to be on the 25th of next month? Broke.
Chargeback. Oh, you cut
Where?
off. You cut off.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. If hold on. um if they don't have the money on the 28th and it's the end of the month, right? And then you take the $85 out or the $120 out on the first of the month the following month. Where do you think they're going to be at on the 25th or on the 22nd of next month? Broke. And if they're broke, what's the very first thing they're going to cancel? Your insurance,
yep.
right? So I don't just fold in and go, yeah, I can do it for the 3rd. I want to sit there and have an honest conversation with you. Like, what's going on? Why are you broke on the 28th? Right? Is this something that's a one-off situation, right? Now, if you said to me, Rico, yeah, dude, I freaking hit a curve yesterday and I popped my tire and that was $220 that I was not expecting to spend this month. Understandable. I'll work with you on that, right? But if you're like, no, dude, usually I have no money by the 21st, that's a red flag to me. Okay.
Yeah.
So $85 may not be the best option. Let's look at a 7,000 or a 6,000.
I like that. I never thought of that when you said that. Well, actually, you reminded me when you said, uh, let's set it up to where the bank will take it or the insurance company will take it within 48 hours,
Yeah.
or 72 hours or whatever. I like that.
So I'm going to show you guys what I did for those rebuttals, okay, and how I did that.
You broke down the loop, right? And then go into the rebuttals.
Exactly what I did. I
Yeah.
just used the loop. I skipped certain parts, right? I skipped the prescription discount card and all of that, right? So I didn't say this sentence. So when you're in your loop, I just want to give everybody a heads up here. When you're in your loop, your main objective is to get to this paragraph right here and make it hit home. Make it hit home. This is what sells. The rest is fluff and certainty levels and building certainty. This is the emotional right here. This is what's going to sell that policy for you. Now, let me ask you this, Miss Rico. If your daughter came to you and she asked you to do this for her, if she said, Dad, I will not have the money when you pass, it is going to put me in a bind and it is going to take food out of your grandchildren's mouths if I have to pay $10,000. You would not tell her you need to think about it. You would tell her, I will do it right now. Am I right in saying that? And if they say anything other than yes, then you need to confront them. You'd say, wait a second, Mr. Rico. You mean to tell me if your daughter came to you and asked you for help with this, you would tell her no? Right? And you need
Yeah.
to confront that situation, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, no, I wouldn't. Exactly. Now that I can understand. You don't know me. I don't have the luxury of a track record with you, Mr. Rico. Let me reintroduce myself, right? Then I'm building value on myself again, right? Then I go into building value on the company, Senior Life Services. And then I re-ask for the close right here. This loop is golden for these reasons, right? It works great for think about it. It works great for talk to the kids. Soon as you're done with the loop, come up here and you should be, looking at these every so often and picking out the ones that you want. This one doesn't sit well with me. Not that it doesn't work. It just doesn't work with my personality and everybody's different. So don't pick the same ones that I picked just because I picked them, right? This one I haven't had the best response with. Now, this one, though, I really like. This one, I really like, right? So I'll pick out the ones that I know that work well with how I'm selling, and I'll use those on a steady basis. Make sense?
Yeah, I noticed. And then you convert them to your own version
Exactly.
to how you
Exactly.
sound natural.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I add words and I subtract words to make it seem like I'm saying it and I'm not reading it. All right. So that is think about it. Everybody feel like they can overcome that objection today based on what we just covered?
Yep.
Yeah.
Write it down, practice.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I recorded
It's
this, Josh. Do you
practice.
mind if I send it to everybody?
Not at all.
Okay.
Thank
Not
you.
at all.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Good question.
It's gonna go into my YouTube channel, so you guys don't make fun of me, right?
um, how it says like talk to kids,
Yep.
and it says is X child pay for it, and then if they say yes, you pretty much have to do a follow up from there, right? Unless okay,
So for that one, I kept hitting that roadblock,
Mhm.
right? Where people kept saying yes. So I came up with something to get rid of that, right? I have the best way to get a client to stop thinking about somebody else paying for it. So let's say let me ask you, are they paying for it? And you tell me, well, they would help me, right?
Yeah,
Well, they
yeah,
would help me pay for it because, they got more money than I do. This is what I'll say. I'll say, Mr. Franklin, I think it's great that your kids are going to be willing to do that for you. I think that's a bad idea. Do you mind if I tell you why? And of course, they're curious. They go, well, why is that? Because instead of worrying about one income to pay for this policy, now you're worrying about two incomes and two individuals. The chances of an emergency happening doubles because now you have two people living their lives. If one of you come into an emergency and you're not able to pay your portion, the other person is left with the entire thing. So
Mhm.
let's not pick an amount that you have to rely on somebody else to help you pay. Because if they ever come into an emergency, and emergencies happen, I'm sure you can agree with me on that, right, Mr. Franklin? If an
Yeah.
emergency happens,
Yes.
you're stuck paying the entire thing for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And if you can't afford it, guess what? You just paid on your policy for several months or several years, and now it has to cancel. We need to find an amount that you can do on your own. If your children can help pitch in on that, amazing. But if they can't, you can still cover it by yourself, okay?
Mhm.
That works every time.
That's good. And I mean, like, if either like the sister or someone else has the account information, they don't have the account information because they've been scammed before or something like that.
You should have found that out before you got to the close.
Right. Right. Okay.
If you got that in the close, then you missed the step earlier
Yep.
on the script. That's on you. You
Yep.
spent 40 minutes on the phone with somebody that couldn't make the decision anyways.
Yep.
Right? There's nothing there. I mean, you can't do anything there besides get them on the phone.
Yep. Copy.
Try to backpedal a little bit.
Got it. At that point, that's what you have to
At
do.
that point, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Something that whenever I'm selling, something that I try to do, I do not consider myself a good closer. Okay. I don't consider myself a good closer whatsoever. Can I close a lot of deals? Yes. But the reason
You're
that I
not
feel
good.
like,
You're phenomenal, bud. Don't sell yourself short. You kill it.
but I close a lot of deals, but not because I'm the best objection handler, right? If I get 4 or 5 objections in the close, chances are I won't make that sale, right? What I am very good at, though, is addressing objections earlier on in the call and establishing such a strong why and such a strong urgency for the product that when I get to the close, typically I don't get objections, right? What happens to me in the close is one of two things. They buy or they hang up. Very rarely am I getting objection after objection after objection. Now, does it happen? Yes. And sometimes I can overcome it, sometimes I can't. But for the most part, when I get to the close, when I ask for the banking, it's one of two things happen. They either give it to me or they hang up.
Are
Because
you
they already
doing
know.
trial closes like as you're doing building rapport? Are you doing trial
Um,
closes with them? Is that what you're doing to try to get the need
suggest
and get it out of them?
suggestive closes.
Huh?
Suggestive closes.
Suggestive?
Suggestive closes. Like we talked about the other day. Let's get this taken care of for you and your family so you don't have to worry about this no more, okay?
Are you
Let's write
talking
that up
about
in front of
during the
me.
presentation or that's towards
Yeah,
the end though?
the fact finding section. So I would rather die at the fact finding than die in the close.
Mhm.
What I mean by that is I would rather spend an extra 10 minutes in my fact finding and help get that need so strong that I could throw anything at you and you would buy it versus skipping over the fact finding and just getting, why haven't you bought insurance so far? Oh, okay. How important is it to you to take care of this? Oh, it's important. Okay. And
Is
moving
that
on and then
is
going
that
into
how
the
you
close.
start your fact finding? Is asking that part? Just the
Um,
like,
so
why
I
haven't
do
you done this
things.
before? Is that how you started?
No, it's not. It's not. So whenever I hop on an SBC, I do it a little bit different than you guys would do it. And that's simply because I'm coming in as a
Yeah, you're
second
coming in
party.
late. Yeah.
Yeah. So whenever I come into the call, I introduce myself. I tell them who I am. I say, listen, my agent has done a really good job of taking notes, filling me on what's going on. They mentioned that you're looking for a funeral, right? Have you looked up the cost of a funeral in your area? I'll go to Funeralocity. I'll find the pricing of it, and I'll go, okay, it's $8,760, and I find specific numbers work best here. It's $8,760 up to $16,600. At the moment, Miss Jones, what do you currently have in place to cover portion of that or all of that? What are we looking to try to do? Oh, I have 5,000 in place, or oh, I don't have anything in place. Okay. So I respect that, and better late than never. Now let me ask you, you're 71. You're getting calls like this often. I'm sure I'm not the only person that you've spoken to about this. When you've spoken to other agents in the past, what have you found that you liked or didn't like about what they had to offer? What's prevented you from getting it in place so far? That answer to me tells me exactly what's going to happen in the close. They tell me, oh, I haven't taken nobody else's call. That means they're a procrastinator. That means whenever I get to the close, I'm going to push harder than I normally would because I know that if they get off the phone with me, they're not going to buy insurance again. Right? Um, so I'll do that. If they tell me price was the main objection, or the prices were too high, that tells me one of two things. That tells me that the other agent didn't build enough value or urgency in what the product does, and they were only focused on price. Or they really are on a very limited income and price is going to be a big factor in the close, and they're probably going to give me budget issues or think about it. So I'm planning ahead for these objections that are going to come up based on the conversation that I'm having in the fact finding, right? And I'm gearing my presentation towards that. So I'll be like, okay, let's say they say price. I'll say absolutely, completely understand, and you always want to relate. I grew up in a very low income household where $20 was the difference between food on my table and the lights on or off at night. So believe me when I tell you, I know what it's like to be financially hurt. Do you mind if I ask, what are some of the prices that you've heard that were just not affordable for you? Get an idea of what they've heard in the past and why they
Well,
said
to
they
say,
couldn't afford it.
I really don't want to go over that. I only talk one person anyway.
So
I
if
didn't
you're
like the
getting
price.
Yeah, if you're getting that, then you're not sharing enough about yourself to where they feel. Remember how I was telling you guys about a week ago, right? If your report is not there, you're going to get very direct, straight up answers that are like not the answers you're looking for, right? So if the report's not there, you're going to get answers like that. Well, why does that matter? What do you have to offer me, right? You're going to get answers like, oh, I don't even remember what it was. I just know it wasn't affordable. But if the rapport is there, you're going to get different answers. You're going to get answers like, well, they were telling me $150 a month, Josh. I couldn't do that, right? Your answers are going to be different based on how much rapport you have.
So when they
Okay.
say 150, do you come back? What do you come back with? Do you like okay? So if you find something a little bit less, something more affordable, how do you come back with that?
Nope, I don't set limitations. Because again, that other agent could have been selling on price alone, right? So price alone is not going to sell your products. The benefits, the value, what it does is what's going to sell. So I won't come back and say, well, if I could find you something for 80, would you buy
Yeah,
it?
that's my mistake.
Because that to me is a used carsman sale trick, right? If they bring you a sheet of paper and they go, it's 43,000, and you go, I can't afford that, and they go, if I could get it to 39, would you buy it? Right? And they're just selling on the price. They're not selling on the value. So I'll say, hey, I can understand that. I know what it's like to not have that kind of money left over every month. So I respect that. My job today for you, Mr. Rico, is to find you something that is within budget and still takes care of everything you need to make sure that your daughter's not left behind with that bill. Okay. That's what we're going to
That's a
do
good
for you
word.
today.
Words.
I'm still
Everything you
going to
need.
offer $150 a month. I cannot tell you guys how many times somebody told me a price and I sold them on a higher price. Many, 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 many times, almost every time, right? Because they're going to pick a number that they can afford, they just don't want to afford, right? If you think about it, everybody here is probably overpaying for their car payment. Not one of us are go, oh man, I love my $500 car payment. I'm just happy it's not 6, right? Every one of us are probably like, I wish I was paying 350, right? So the price doesn't matter. It's the necessity and the urgency of the product that I'm offering that's going to sell them. So no, I do not offer a lower price. I used to do that on the phone. It's a mistake because then you're limiting yourself to $60 deals. It's going to take you 40 deals in a week to hit
Guilty.
10,000, right? You're selling $60 deals, $40 deals, $80 deals. And that's because you're limiting what you're able to offer because you're hearing something and taking it at face value. But it's not actually face value. It's just what they've done. I think of myself better than any other agent, and you guys should do the exact same, right? So if somebody tells me they didn't buy from somebody because it was $150 a month, that doesn't mean they're not going to buy a $150 a month policy from me. That means that other agent didn't do a good enough job. That means if I build extra value, extra urgency, they'll spend 170 with me, right? That's how I'm thinking as I'm going through the close. That other person is not as good as me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure that you're getting what you're
Or they
supposed to
didn't
get.
build enough value,
Yeah,
rapport.
they're just selling on price, right?
Yeah.
And you got to think a lot of agents,
That's what they do.
unfortunately, and nothing against any other agents, but a lot of agents don't have the support system that you guys have,
Yeah.
right? A lot of agents aren't getting the training
I
that
can
you're
vouch for
getting.
that.
They're not getting. So when they're selling, they don't know how to sell. They're just throwing spaghetti against the wall to see if it sticks. They're going and knocking on a door that they spent $50 for, and they're just like throwing stuff against the wall, hoping that that client buys to make their money back. But they don't have the system, the support that you guys have to be able to outsell them. Make sense?
Yeah.
So think of yourself as the better agent because you are. You really are.
Yeah.
So what are the features that we sell on, Josh? I mean, I got a guy yesterday, you know, he came in and says, I got a live transfer, and says, I got a quote from State Farm for $77. You know, what do you got? You know, so I go through and I go build rapport with the guy for a bit, which was difficult because he wasn't really focused on what was, you know, the conversation. There's dogs barking in the background and people talking, and
Yeah,
it
they just want
you
to
know, it was a
push you
real
on
pain in
price,
the
price,
ass.
price.
100%. 100%. I love those
And
people.
he had me, you know, he says, I got to answer this call. Can you call me back? So I called him back, and then I'm
No.
on there again,
No.
and he says,
So
the last, he
immediately,
had me call back again. I said, I'll send you a text. And I sent him a text message and just gave him a price, and that was that.
as
But
soon as they say, hey, I got another call coming in, can you call me back? No, let that call go to voicemail, call them back. Let's finish up what we're doing first because I'm sure this is high up on your to-do list, right? You need to stand your ground there, right? Don't let them push you around and make it seem like you're being the needy one because you're there to do what? Help him and his family. Does that make sense? You got to change your
yeah,
mindset. I'm not bothering them. They're bothering me. Instead of being on the phone with you, dude, I could be on the phone with Miss Jones that's ready to buy insurance, right? She wants to protect her family. So no, let that other call go to voicemail. You can call them back. They'll leave you a voicemail if it's important. Let's finish this up, right? And I'm going to take back control of that call. But to go back to the original question, which was, you know, I got a quote from State Farm for $77. Can you beat it? Or what can you do? And a lot of times they won't even give you the price that they got, right? They'll just say, hey, I got a quote from State Farm. I'm just trying to see, you know, what you can do for me. They won't give you a price. Best question to ask. Is price the most important thing to you, Mr.
Oh,
Bernard?
shoot. That's awesome. Forget that.
Is price the most important thing? Because if price is the most important thing, I can beat their price. But if I found you insurance that was $1 a month, but it took a year to pay out to your family, is that price really that important to you? If I found you insurance that was $1 a month but took 4 years to kick in, and if you died in the next 4 years you don't get anything, is that price really the most important thing to you? If I found you a plan that's $1 a month but it only paid out if you got hit by a bus on 5th Street, if you're on 6th Street it doesn't pay out, is price really the most important thing to you, Mr. Bernard? Or are you looking for benefits? And you know what they say? They go, I'm looking for both. I'm looking for both. I'm looking for best price and best benefits. Well, Mr. Bernard, you get what you pay for. Unfortunately, best price and best benefits don't go hand in hand. Okay? You either spend a little bit more to get a better quality insurance, or you spend a little bit less to get a little less of a quality, bit more of a death benefit. Again, what is most important to you? Now, if they go, look, I'm on a fixed income, price is the best thing to me. I don't care about none of the benefits. I don't care about any of that. Say, okay, I will try to find you the best price, but just know there are better options out there for you and your family. And I'm putting this in their head the whole time. Okay. So try to avoid the selling on price. So I'm going to go Forrest, Omar, then
So
Doug.
that would
Forrest,
actually go, I mean, take care of them trying to just push you for price, right?
yeah. Yeah. If you continue getting price, the correct wording is, Mr. Rico, I'm going to get you the price down to the penny. But obviously price is important to you. I have a process that I have to do to make sure I get you the best possible price, okay? And typically it'll shut them up and they'll go, yeah, okay. Forrest?
You literally said what I was about to say right there in that last sentence you just said.
Okay.
I was gonna say that, and I was gonna ask a question, but yeah, I was gonna say, never let the call be about price ever. I don't care if that's the first thing comes out of their mouth. Get their mind off of price as fast as you can. Make, you know, talk about the value of the product. A lot of times,
But that
the
comebacks
clients don't
that
even.
goes back. You know, they come back with that later if you get that off their mind so quickly. You know what I mean?
Most of my clients that I've sold a policy where it was like $300 or $400 a month didn't even have a clue what they wanted until I started talking about the value of the product. They didn't know what they wanted until I started talking to them. And then you focus on the value of the product, go over the bullet sheet with them with Everest, talk to them and find out what their needs are. And then 98% of the conversation needs to be about that. Okay. And then you go over price. And it should only be a few seconds about price. And then after price, that's it. You just, you go with it from there. But the question I was going to ask Josh, I don't know if we have enough time, but I had an issue yesterday with a call. I wasn't able to get an account number. He said that he gets paid a Social Security check. It was supposed to be like on the third Wednesday of every month, but then they moved it up to the second Wednesday of every month. And I'm like, that's not possible. I didn't say that to the client, but said he's been having issues with his bank and he didn't want to make a payment. He didn't want to go through with this right now because he wanted to find out what's going on with his bank. So I didn't know how
Understandable.
to.
So I get your concern, Mr. Forrest, and I can understand with them moving around your payments that, it can be a little nerve-wracking to commit to something like this. But at the end of the day, you are going to get paid once a month, right? So let me ask you, do you have the $112 available today to make your first payment?
No.
Okay. Did you face a one-off situation this month that does not normally come up, or is this typically where you're at the end of the month?
What do you say when they say this
Unmemorable.
is where I'm at the end of the month?
Then we need to look at a different option other than the
Go
112.
lower. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. If this is where you're at the end of the month where you don't have $112 left over, Mr. Forrest, we need to look at a lower option, because if I were to take this money out and get you covered, if one thing happens in your life, your electric bill goes up by $50 because you forgot a light on, the very first thing you're going to cancel is your insurance. I pride myself on having the clients I have for several years. The clients I have, I plan on having till the day they die. So I want to make sure I do the same thing for you. Let's look at a lower option.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's a good one.
Yes, sir. Omar.
I was gonna say about the price thing. My sale on Tuesday, the first thing he said is, I don't want to answer any of your questions. I just want some numbers. And he kept going back to that, and I kept asking about his beneficiary and all that. He kept saying the same thing. I don't want to answer any of your questions until you give me some numbers. And I straight up told him, I said, sir, in my professional experience, if I rush you to a price, we're not going to get anywhere. You're going to hang up, and we're not going to get anything done today. If this is something you want to do, let's get through this the right way so I can get you exactly what it is that you need. And when I told him that, he settled down. And even at the end, the plan was like $40 more than what he really wanted, and he still went with it. So that worked. And then my question for you, Josh, I had a guy who his son sells life insurance, but for some reason he felt like talking to me, and he told me to call him back today. What is there like do you know a way to get him to trust me enough to buy from me instead of his son? Because his own son is literally doing the same thing.
So you need to understand the situation, right? So to me, that sparks a lot of different questions. How long has your son been doing it? Does your son have a history of jumping from one company to the next? Because that may be why he doesn't want to talk to his son, right? He may not want to say that right away, but if you talk to him and he's like, yeah, he was a landscaper last year. This year he's a life insurance agent. The year before that, he was a car wash dude. He's just unstable, right? He may not want to buy the life insurance from his son because he can't trust that his son's going to be there when he passes, right?
It's his son's side hustle.
Oh, there
He's
you go.
he's a restaurant manager, and his
There you
side
go.
hustle is life insurance.
So that is probably the reason that he doesn't want to buy from his son, right? Another thing would be, let me ask you, have you talked to your son about this? Have you gotten numbers from him? What did you like about what he had to offer? What did you not like? if my son sold life insurance and it was something that he did full time, I would 100% go with him over anybody else. Why haven't you yet? Right? And get to know his situation. Great job. And the reason that you closed that deal, Omar, is because you took back control of the call, right? You
That was
have to
awesome,
be in
Omar.
control of your call. John.
Two things. First of all, thanks for recommending UHL. That was the first time I had written a policy with them. And actually their underwriting guidelines are pretty lenient because this lady was a mess. I mean, you know, she was morbidly obese. She had a whole bunch of health issues and everything. And they picked it right up. So I was glad about that. So when I'm in a tight situation like that again, I'll look to them more often. Then the other thing is I had a phone bully yesterday. I called the lady and was going through the script. She said, look, stop. If you're not gonna give me a price, I'm gonna get off the phone. I said, well, you called to get information. I'm trying to get you the information. I said, as soon as I start talking, you jump in. I said, now, if you want to do all the talking, I'll be quiet and let you talk. What do you mean? I said, well, like I said, every time I try to start talking, you interrupt me. So she was like, well, if you're not going to give me a price right now, I'm going to hang up. And she hung up.
So I can show you what went wrong and how to fix that. Okay. So what you did there is you got confrontational, right? Could have been at the end of the day, could have been in the middle of the day, could have came off of a bad call prior, and it caused you not to handle that in the right way, right? So that was more of a confrontational approach than it was a de-escalation approach, right? So I would say, completely understandable, Mr. John, and obviously price is important to you. I'm going to give you the price down to the penny. But because price is so important to you, I want to make sure I get you the best price available. If I just give you a price without knowing anything about you, it's going to be a heck of a lot higher than if I take my time and get to know your situation, your health conditions, to where I can find you the best company at the best price. So I have a process that I like to go through, and we're going to get you a price down to the penny, okay? Solve
That's
the need.
awesome.
Give them what they're looking for, right? What they're looking for is a price. Maybe she's been through this 10 other times with 10 other agents and all the prices were too high. But maybe the reason that happened is because none of the other agents took their time to get to know her and just quoted her a GI plan.
Well, this lady was not interested in letting anybody get to know her. She just wanted the price.
So
I
if
have a
you break
situation
that
actually
down,
kind of
hold
similar
on real
to that.
quick, Rico.
I want to, yeah,
Hold
go
on
ahead.
real quick. If you can break her down, John, right? And you can get that control of that call and say, I'm going to do that for you. Very first thing, I'm going to get you a price down to the penny. So you know exactly what you're going to need to pay. But price is important to you, and I want to make sure I get you the best price available, and I have a process to be able to do that for you. I've helped many clients in your same situation, and I'm going to do the same thing for you. Allow me to go through this process, and we'll get you the best price. If you can break her down to relinquish that control, once she buys from you, she'll never buy from somebody else because nobody else will be able to do the same thing to her. Right now, that's a client for life. The hardest clients are the best clients because if you can get them to buy, that's one of those 10-year renewal clients, right? That's one of the clients that are going to help you retire because they're not going to buy from anybody else.
I had a
Go ahead,
similar
Rico.
one yesterday, kind of very similar to John there. Uh, Phone bully, and so I told her that, hey, I have a process. I just have to ask you some questions. I need to know your situation before I can get you the best price. She goes, okay, go ahead. And, you're doing good. Ask your question. And then after that, and I start talking. I asked her about the beneficiary part, and after that, she goes, oh God, click.
Yeah. What you have to do is, and this will be the last question, we'll hit the phones. What you have to do is when you say that to somebody, right? Don't go into no nonsense. Go
Yeah.
into getting some information.
You know, I
Come
should have gone to
back
health, you mean?
to that. Yeah. So come back to that. So you have to give them a little bit to where they feel like you're moving the ball along and then come back. Right. So absolutely. I'm going to get you the best price available and I have a process to do that. First question is, let me ask you, do you currently have any life insurance in place that would help cover part of or most of the cost of your funeral expenses? No, I don't.
Oh, good
Okay.
one.
So we need to make sure that we cover the entire thing. Have you looked into the cost of a funeral in your area? Right. And I'm gonna make it seem like I'm moving down the line, right? But at a certain point, she's gonna forget about kept asking for price and she's gonna start opening up a little bit to you.
Yeah.
When that happens, then you can go back and go, well, how many grandkids do you have, Mr. Rico? You know, how old
Or
are they?
who
What's
their
your oldest? What's your youngest?
beneficiary is, all that.
Right?
Gotcha.
Then you can go into this other stuff and build in a report. But you can't go right from telling them you're going to do something to talking about back to nothing. And they're like, yo, this dude is not helping me at all.
Yeah. I was just trying
Make
to stay
sense?
on my script, and then once you said that, I'm going, okay, I can skip on my script and go back. Yeah. So
Yeah, you have to be aware of going back though, right?
yeah,
Because you don't want to skip any steps. The moment you skip a step, it's shooting yourself in the foot.
good one. Good
Okay.
one. All right.
All right. So
Thank you, sir.
I think this was a phenomenal training. I think you guys got a lot of information to be able to use on your phone calls today.
And I recorded it.
Thank you. Thank you. So first off, real quick, I want to shout out everybody that has their talk time targets for the week. I know I'm beating a dead horse into the ground when I say this, but I'm saying it for you guys, okay? Your activity has to be enough for you to be successful at this job. If it's not, I can give you all the training in the world. I could put my head on your shoulders and say, go get it. And you could have all the knowledge about selling life insurance. But if you only dial 3 people, if you only dial 100 people, chances are you're not going to get enough opportunities to use what you're taught. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
So I'm a huge believer that activity is everything. And I'm going to use John as an example here. John is like the role model for this, right? Last in January, I had a conversation with John about being consistent. You remember that conversation, John? 25 hours every week, come hell or high water. John has been very consistent. He's one of the only ones that I can say that has been, not the only one of the only ones. There's a handful that I can say every week has hit their talk time targets and has seen the success from it by hitting it every single week. It's not something that's going to happen in 1 week, but in 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. That's when the success comes. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. So I want to shout out anybody that's at where they should be at for talk time on a Friday morning. On a Friday morning, you should be at 20 hours, 5 hours a day, 4 days a week, already accomplished. Where should you be at on a Friday morning? 20 hours.
20
right?
hours.
And let me just say this, guys, 5 hours a day is easy. For anybody that doesn't think it's easy, it's easy. It's just working all day. When I was dialing, I was doing 6.5 to 7.5 hours every single day. So 5 hours should be an easy target if you're here all day, every day working. Okay. So going down the list, let's see. We have, and what I'll do is I'll give you guys the benefit of the doubt. We'll say 18 and up. On a Friday morning, because some of you guys work Saturdays. That's where you get your extra time. I'm just going off of a 5-day work week, so we'll go 18 hours. So first up on the list is Miss Alexandria Henry, 19 hours, 12 minutes. Phenomenal job. We have Abu Soiree, 18 hours, 5 minutes. Mr. Malik, 23 hours, 1 minute. Massive job, Mr. Malik. Amazing job. That kind of work ethic, you'll be a top producer in no time. John Dixon, 18 hours, 22 minutes. Rico, I'm going to give it to you. 17 hours, 42 minutes. And those are the ones that have their talk time targets. Can everybody agree with me? It should be way more than that. Right. I'm not crazy in thinking that, am I? I'm not
Nope.
kind of just going way off the deep end here, diving in the deep end of the pool without my life floaties, right? It should be more than that, guys. It should be so many people that I should name the people that don't have it, right? It should be like, well, there's 3. Come on, let's get our stuff together, y'all 3. But it's majority. Last thing, I'm gonna get you guys out of here. Raise your hand if you want to make over $100,000 a year. Over 100,000. Raise your hand. And some hands may not be up, right? Some people may be, I'm okay with 60. And if so, that's okay. Don't feel bad. You might have a different living situation where, there's a couple people I can think of that may not need to make 100,000, and that's okay. But raise your hand if you want to make 100,000. If you want to. Okay. For those of you that your hands are up, right? Look at your activity and go, am I doing $100,000 worth of work? Would you pay somebody $100,000 a year for the work that they put in if they match your work ethic right now? If you were an owner of a business, would you pay somebody $100,000 a year for your work ethic? If your answer is no, guess what? It's going to be very difficult for you to make 100,000. If your answer is yes, chances are you're going to make 100,000 and more. Does everybody see the mindset that I'm giving you guys for that? Look at your own self as if you were paying yourself as an employee. Would you pay yourself 100 grand? If the answer is yes, keep doing what you're doing. If your answer is no, you got to do $100,000 worth of work. On the flip side to that, I want you guys to think of careers that you can make $100,000 at. Lawyer, doctor, right? Psychologist. Who's the therapy people? Is that a psychologist? Who's the people
Yeah.
that you go to therapy for? Is that psychologist? No.
Yeah, right?
Engineer.
Psychiatrist.
Okay. Psychiatrist, right? All of these different careers are where you can make $100,000, not sales related, just where you can make 100,000. What do they have to go through to make 100 grand?
8 years of schooling.
Schooling,
A
4,
lot of
6,
school.
8 years, right? Couple $100,000 in debt for student
get
loans
business
that they
started.
don't have. Yep. Business startup costs, 2 or 3 years of struggling to start up a business, right? For those of you that have never started a business before, it is brutal. It's very difficult to do. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time. There's a lot of stuff that has to be done to make 100,000. Everybody in this room can make 100,000 without all of that. The only thing that you have to be willing to do is work your butt off. That's it. That's the only thing that you have to do. Show up, 8 a.m., camera on, ready to go for the day. Go home, no time. You have no set time to go home. You're not 6 o'clock every day, 5 o'clock every day. Get rid of that mindset of you have a time to get off and make the time that you get off after your targets have been hit. You'll notice if you do that, you'll start hitting your targets earlier. Give it 1 week of hitting your targets and you have to work until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night to hit your targets. I guarantee the next week you'll have those same targets hit by 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I guarantee it because you'll get tired of working those late nights. Guaranteed. Hit your targets every day, come hell or high water, and the rest will fall into your lap. That's as simple as it is. Just show up, work hard. Everything else will fall into your lap. I will make sure of it. I will make sure that you succeed. Okay? All right. On that note, guys, let's go ahead and let's hit the phones and let's have a big day. On the count of 3. We're going to get 3, 2, 1, add a comment on my paycheck. 3, 2, 1.
Add a
Add a
comment on
comment
my
to my
paycheck.
Paycheck.
Let's
paycheck.
go.
Let's go.
Hey, Josh, send me
Give me 1 second,
information
John.
on your headset.